Hey guys, this is the first video in the series of how to use core data in an application. So what I've done so far is created a project called University Observer, and I checkmarked this box use core data. And what this project is essentially going to do is you could add universities that you're interested in going to, viewing, seeing, and it just saves or persists every time you open up the application, so you never lose track of what you added and what you're trying to see. So we'd be using core data to save these values, to add them, to delete them, anything really that a simple wish list or simple observer of things could do. So what you're going to want to do is open up a new project. I named mine University Observer, and you make sure you want to check this box saying use core data, because that's how we're going to save all these values. So every time we open up the application, we could see them. So next, I'm just going to save it on my desktop, and I'm going to create. So right now we're not worried about UI, we're just worried about getting this thing to persist. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to the storyboard rather, and I'm going to simply create how this is going to be set up. So we're going to want a view controller as well as a table view controller. So we're going to want the table view controller to view all these universities that we're interested in. And we're going to make this the initial view controller so that whenever the user opens up the application, they could see all their universities listed. And this view controller is going to be the add university view controller. So we're going to add a text box. We could add several text boxes. So we could add one for the name, one for the location of the university. So I'm gonna make this bigger. Okay, I'm gonna make a placeholder and just say name. Sometimes the placeholder glitches out, so it might not show. Oh, well, I guess it does. Name of university, and then I'm gonna put location of university. So now that I have these two, I need a button to save the values that the user puts in. And it's just going to be called add university. And you want to give it some text. Let's just center this. Nothing too fancy, just simply experimenting with core data. So now that we have this set up, let's create files for it. So this view controller, I'm going to change the name of the file to add university view controller. And I'm just going to change the name of this. So, oh gosh. Okay. Add university view controller. Then I'm going to go back to my storyboard and change the name of this to add university view controller. Now let's link these elements to the code, like the text box we just made and the buttons we made, or the button rather. So name of university text field. And your names don't have to be this long. I just do it so it's easy. If you're just viewing this, you don't have to go through hours of videos just to find out what we're doing. Location of text, location of university text field. And then last but not least, we want to add this add university button and make sure you check mark it as an action. And add university button and change the type to UI button. We're going to connect. So now that we have that, what we're going to want to do is do the same thing for this file. So the name of this file is just going to be display universities, because once we add them, we're going to want to display them on the table view cells. Display university import UI kit, and import UI kit, import core data, because we're going to be fetching objects, so we're going to want to be using core data in both of these files. So I'll go back and add that library in the other file, the add university view controller. We're going to create a class display university. Again, your naming doesn't have to be this exact, just to get a general idea of what we're doing. It's going to inherit from UI table view controller. We're just going to add our simple framework functions. So in this, I'm also going to be teaching you guys an abstraction for going about the table view, so you don't have to write the same redundant code every time you want to display something on table view cells. You could just use this and call it, and it's very simple about how you implement it, and it saves you a lot of time, and it's good code, so you don't have to, again, be redundant with what you write. So let's just change the name of this to display university table view controller. And let's just give this cell an identifier so we don't have to do it later. So we're just going to give it the name cell. And then, like I said, we want to go back to this file, add university view controller, and we want to import core data. Okay, so before we go any further with these files, we're going to want to create a core data stack. And what a core data stack does, it's a file essentially to handle each operation that's involved in core data, whether it's creating context, which is a background queue, or a main queue, which is basically how we tunnel these manage objects, how we tunnel and how we want the operations to be performed. Meaning, if I want to save something, I'm usually going to do it on a background queue, because only on a main queue do we do UI updates and whatnot. So view context and a background context, or private context rather, context is used to simply tunnel these manage objects into specific places where we perform the operations on them. So it would be easier to show you. So let's create a file and be called core data stack, and I'm going to explain it as we go. But in all fairness, it's just a place where we could handle these operations. So we're creating the functions for now, so we don't have to create it on the fly. So class core data stack. And so, like I said, if you don't have a basic understanding of core data, that's fine. We're actually gonna go more in depth in this in the next video. So stay tuned for part 2. So where we left off, we just created this class.